a former materialist or atheist explaining how the Haitian Revolution would not work without voodoo. There are often naysayers who push the idea that our African spiritual practices are useless or that they didn't save us from colonialism, slavery. How do you respond to the clear use of spirituality in miracle science? This came with a link taking us to YouTube. Let me see something. Saying the video is not there anymore, but it could be an error on my part. Let's see something. Hold on. Sorry about this. Let me try to copy that again. I think I might have copied it wrong. Let me copy it again. Okay, and now let me try to share it with you guys one more time. All right, here we go. I'm supposed to play a certain range. Let me find that again. I think it's 121, 121.31, 121.31. So let's go.
Yourself anymore.
Right. So
No,
even in terms of personal development, my problem that I had with along the lines of what you're saying, which would be a very interesting part of the conversation too, is that when you do an analysis of Christianity, one of my critiques of Christianity is that it does not teach personal responsibility because it's based on third-party reconciliation, right? And third-party reconciliation is simply, I offend you, but I go and apologize to Jesus.
Yes.
Right? The Jesus is here to absolve your sins. So instead of me going to seek forgiveness from you, I actually go and I beg forgiveness from a third party, right? It's a third party reconciliation, which is also the metaphor of the story of Jesus, which is basically third party reconciliation. Jesus died for your sins, not his. He died for your sins. So he took responsibility for your sins. So how does that teach responsibility when you can rely on someone to actually serve your sentence for you?
I love how you break
and
stuff
serve
down,
your punishment for you. Right? It doesn't teach responsibility. No. It doesn't, because you can just put it on Jesus. And then the other side of it too, from a practical colonial administration point of view, Catholicism is actually very important because it's part of the military wing of every colonial administration, because it's literally a spy operation, right? Once you can get people to report their quote unquote sins to a priest who is associated with the colonial administration, if the people who are so-called slaves are planning a revolt and they hear thou shalt not kill, the slave or the person who's been enslaved who feels guilty will now go and confess on a Friday to the priest who literally is the officer, the MI5 or CIA officer who gets a confession without having to torture.
Brother Heru, you're dropping bombs. Please don't stop. It is so astute what you're saying. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, so these are the problems that I've had with it, because I look at these things and I see how it has practical applications and implications in the world, right? So I couldn't participate in those things because I could see very clearly, I mean, what other system could you get people who you are oppressing to literally tell you what they're planning without you having to capture them and put them through a torture process or interrogation? People are volunteering information to you by religious edict.
Absolutely. it's there, but exactly as you said, and you said that your conversations end up being prophetic because you're now reaffirming a lot of things that as obvious, as they say, some things are in plain view, but we can't see it. But the manner in which you formulated that and presented that, it makes it even more so clearer.
Yeah,
I mean, and I relate it to my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was actually a very expeditious way for Rome to take over the world and the children of Rome, because all of these countries are literally spawns of Rome. England, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to read Julius Caesar's diaries, but yeah, so it would be very interesting for you to read it and for all Africans to read it, because Julius Caesar conquered England. He brought civilization to England, and what he said about the English when he first met them, the Saxons and the Britons and the Welsh, all these people, he was so appalled at their lack of civilization and their illiteracy that he didn't even feel that they were fit to be slaves.
Yeah,
he says this on his conquest of the British Isles. It's a very important document for people to read. And so then the development of the Catholic Church, right? The domes and the basilicas and all of that, they're thinking of how they can conquer the world. And what better way to conquer the world when you have a religious system that encourages people to snitch on themselves.
True indeed. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. It's actually, I mean, if you had law enforcement and you asked them, what is one of the things that we would love to have? They would love to have a pill that they could give people where the people would just tell you the truth 100%. And snitch on themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And religion is that drug, and the Catholic Church is that drug. Yeah. If you can Catholicize everybody, you'll be able to conquer them and maintain your power so much quicker, because anything that people are going to do that's untoward towards committing a quote unquote sin will be reported. And actually, that's what happened with a lot of the slave revolts in the United States, was the ones that weren't successful at all, and none of them were fully successful towards the end goal. It always had someone snitching who felt bad that they were doing something against the doctrine of going to heaven.
That's right.
Right? So they would report, they would go straight to the priest and they would say, hey, I feel so bad about what we're planning to do. We're planning to kill the slave master on Friday or on Saturday. So of course the priest says, you've been absolved, my son, and this and that, or maybe they even hold you in the church, and then they go and tell the military wing, because no missionaries existed without a military wing.
Oh, 100%.
They had to be supported by the military of the country that they were coming with. So we understand that this was all, it helps people in land grabs, right? And those of us who can see it, we can see it. And that's why having your own understanding of spirituality, or that which is unseen, which is all human beings have that question, where did we come from? And where do we go after we die? That is the main philosophical questions that all human beings ask themselves in all cultures and all walks of life. But if you have something that does not serve your liberation, you will always be a snitch against yourself and your
100%.
Right?
Straight to that. That's
right?
A beautiful exposition.
So, and that 100%. Brings us to voodoo, which voodoo literally was a liberation tool and what I call an anti-snitch tool. Why do I call 100%. It an anti-snitch tool? It takes you away from Catholicism. You are no longer confessing to the priest. And the way we know that voodoo was an anti-snitch tool is the declaration by Boukman Duty at Bwakaiman.
Yeah.
That we must absolve and we must erase the gods of Europeans from our minds.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because he understood that there can be no revolt if your people are programmed to snitch according to religious edict. So you got to get rid of that first.
100%. Yep.
You got to get rid of that first, and you have to replace it with something else. So you're able to now worship, because African people, we love to worship. There's something about us. It just is. You're not going to get rid of it.
Brother, it's a ashay. It's a ashay. It's a energy. Yeah. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So they say, okay, you have a European saint that we have, but we're going to use that saint as camouflage for our own KWAZ, which is the African spirits, the African deities that represent certain principles and will guide us and what have you. So the slave master thinks that we're praying to the saint, but we're actually praying to an African deity. And we will never go now to this priest to reveal what it is that we're doing, because our religion is actually a religion of subterfuge.
That's right. Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Which is necessary for a liberation theology.
100%. 100%. Right? Yes.
So indeed. A lot of people think that voodoo is about having a doll and sticking a pin in a doll and making someone and controlling someone, but they don't understand, particularly in the Haitian context, its importance in breaking literally lines of espionage.
100%. Yeah, no, it's as I said, the manner in which you've explained that, it's 100% beautiful, brother. I just love it. Yeah, no, 100. And the fact that you even see that the ceremony of Boakai, man, had to have an oath. Yeah, there was something that bonded everyone. That again includes ashay. In this case, the ashay from the blood of a pig, whereby everyone knows they've now bought into that unity. That no one then you've actually now put this idea of confessions into a totally different light, because I only saw it mainly as that expression of religiosity, but where you've extended it to now, it's everything an intelligence service needs, because again, we know the Catholic Church still to today has a paramilitary wing, you know, and it funds it just as any country funds its military budgets, you know. So yeah, thank you for that. I love it. I love your exposition.
And the thing is that even the languages of Western Europe are referred to as Romance languages, which comes from Rome. Yes, Romance languages, they were all conquered by Rome. They would not have stuck if they did not accept Catholicism. The reason is that Catholicism makes it easier for you to manage a police state.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
Right. So we have what we have today.
Of course.
You could not have a police state of slavery in Haiti coexisting with sincere Catholicism, because every plan that you make will be reported by the people who were supposed to actually get their liberation. You could not have 1804 happen where a bunch of people who were enslaved declare their liberation and actually win a military campaign if they are sincere Catholics. Right. Because every move that they're making would have been reported to a Catholic priest 100%. Who's on the side of the enslavers. Right? So the development of voodoo was actually necessary. And so imagine that you are someone, imagine me and you say, we don't like this slavery thing, we need to get out of it. What are the things that are necessary for us to do militarily to get out of it? Well, we're going to have some type of weapons. We're going to have military training, but we have to deal with the intelligence gathering problem. Yes. Which means that we have to deal with the question of Catholicism and this question of voluntary, happy confessions. Right? Most confessions are done under duress. In Catholicism, people are trained to happily confess.
You say anything and everything, you know. My own experience, I'm going off
of course. Of course. Yes, So you could not have had the Haitian Revolution in a land of sincere African Catholics, because the military campaign would have never worked.
All right, I see a lot of comments in the chat. Jose echoing what was said in the video. He says you can Catholicize anybody, and he says, how though? Nama X says, amen, erase anything related to the European Asian books. Trighabi 262 says, you don't get the Haitian Revolution with Abrahamic religions or atheism, full stop. He says, this also shows you that war isn't just guns. It's a holistic nation affair. Culture, religion, philosophy, or psychology plays crucial points in how soldiers fight. Nama X says, the earliest evidence for the adoption of Christian religious practice in the area of the modern-day Democratic Republic of Congo dates to the late 15th century. Trighabi 262 says, American soldiers believe in the divine right for America to exist. Jihadists believe in Islam to exist. With that said, let's start off with Kyle Ezekiel. What say you to what you just saw?
So, I'm not an atheist. I'm agnostic, but I'm not an atheist. But with that said, I agree that the Haitian Revolution wouldn't have happened without those African spiritual beliefs that pushed them to want to rebel. And there was a level of organization that was involved, not just, where the revolt started, but among all the other plantations in that area, the way they coordinate the attacks, work together. They dealt with, people who would infiltrate and, the snitches, those who were going to tell. So when you look at the slave revolts that happened in the United States, none of them ever reached that size. I think Nat Turner maybe had 60 people. The German Coast Rebellion in Louisiana had a couple hundred. So I don't think any slave revolt that happened in the United States, within the borders of the United States, that is, was successful. But plus they had, first there was a numerical disadvantage, whereas in Haiti the Africans were the majority, whereas in the U.S. that wasn't the case. But also too, they kept their culture intact in a way that African people in the U.S. just were not able to do. They couldn't beat drums. They couldn't celebrate their festivals or their gods. You could have your tongue torn out for praying to your deity in America. So I think that does have a large part to play in why the Haitian Revolution, the initial revolution, was successful. Now, the only thing is that the French come back in 1825, and they force Haiti to pay for the cost of their freedom. So while the revolution itself was successful, just kind of wondering how come the spiritual systems weren't in place to kind of counteract them being almost, I won't say re-enslaved, but forcing them to pay reparations to France. Just a question on that, but good topic though, and I agree that without those Vodun, it would have never occurred.
Thank you for that, Carl. Let's have from Real Black Gentleman.
To the best of my knowledge, Vodou isn't like pure African, but it's what wound up happening is that they hacked the Catholicism that they put in us, and basically like added in as much of the African in it, and they just like took the theology and just they hacked it, and that's what you know what I'm saying? That's basically what black people did in this country. You know what I'm saying? That's what Nat Turner did. Nat Turner was like basically, he took the Bible. He was a preacher. He was like, what was the saying? He who serveth a man, and he who has that man in his hand shall surely be put to death. I mean, that's what Nat Turner was on. He was a preacher. You know what I'm saying? And he took the Bible. That's real liberation theology. That's real. That's like, look, you know good and well, we don't deserve to be in this situation. And your book is saying what it is. It's like, that's why they didn't want black people to read. Because like, they're going to use, the word, you know what I'm saying? Spitting on them. I mean, they're going to see, that's my thing. It's like, I get it. It's like, it's all, and then how do I say it? It's just liberation theology. It's just, you can call it, you can give it a name, but it worked. It's like they won the war, which was essential. I mean, they didn't quite win the peace. That's, you know, that put Haiti in a situation and winding up having to pay. You know what I'm saying? And then just the whole the Dominican Republic issue. We're talking about Haiti being free. It's only free on part of the island. What about the rest of the island? You know what I'm saying? I think that gets lost in, you know what I'm saying, lost in the whole Haiti independence thing, because it's like, I mean, there's a whole other side of the island. It's like, yo, why didn't Haiti get the whole island? That's part of why Haiti wasn't as free as it could be, because there's pressures from within and from without, and let alone a naval, you know what I'm saying, blockade. You know what I'm saying? They're on the island. How are they going to get off? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, build a boat. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. It's things like that where, you know what I'm saying, it's like you always give the Haitians their ups for organizing. It's understanding why that they were made. You know what I'm saying? That's that whole, again, like I said again, that whole, why is the Dominican Republic not in Haiti, two different countries? Why have they not? Because, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you have to like use the you know, religion as far as, you know what I'm saying, what dude said as far as like Catholicism making you, like, you know what I'm saying, go to the confessions, like that's the whole thing. It's like, it's all spookism. It's like, man, you afraid of something, and you know, you have to tell someone like what you're seeing, and because it's like, it's funny how like God is like invisible and all seeing and all knowing and is invisible, but then it's like you have to talk about, you know what I'm saying, everything and describe it. It's stupid. I don't know. I'm gonna pass.
Thank you for that, RBG. Let's hear from Tanzan. Tan, what say you?
I would say that yes, there was definitely a spiritual component, even if whether one believes in it or not, or one is agnostic about it, but the mentality aspect of it is important in the morale of people who are going against any kind of, whether it's a sports match, war, or any kind of competition or confrontation. So even in terms of lifting the spirits, you know, metaphorically, of the men or the people who are going into, you know, such situation, altercation, it's going to be a positive one way or another. So I think that, yes, you need something that unified the people, that gave them a sense of purpose and dignity, and more importantly, that was their own. I think that was the most important part, that it was their own, you know, creation. It was not something that they took from somebody else, and that gave them that push, you know, to see things through. I know that afterwards, yes, as someone said, they didn't keep the peace, but you know, for that time, it worked in rallying them together towards a common goal. So yes, it was definitely a morale booster. It was something that it was a big component, I would think, of why, the reasons why they were. Not that other people did not believe in themselves. I'm sure that there have been many revolts and rebellions, you know, otherwise, but I think it just gave them this fearlessness and this courage to go into war and actually, you know, show a certain kind of fearful courage to their opponents. The other thing I would say is that, you know, you need to maintain that kind of spirit. You cannot just have it, you know, as a spark and then, you know, you go back to normal. It's something that has to be maintained. And maybe that is one of the reasons why it did not spread as much. And maybe, and I know there were outside forces, so I'm not, you know, I'm not all the way knowledgeable on it. I only have an idea. As for atheism, that's, you know, that's not going to work either, because it's really like a negative idea, and people don't really, you know, they don't really unify, or they don't get behind and rally behind something that is a non-entity. So that may be a personal choice that someone makes, but it's not really grounds for, you know, for creating this, you know, general feeling and inspiration. So yes, I would definitely say that it would not have worked. I wish they would have done more. I wish they would have, you know, pursued it more and maintained it. But yeah, it was definitely a factor. And another reason too is that when you see how much it was, they tried to suppress it or badmouth it or warn people against it and so on. Even if we're not fully aware of the power, there's something there that they were afraid of the people knowing or practicing. So yes, I'll end there.
I appreciate that. And Buana, you heard everything, everyone. No, actually, no, let's go to Azuli. Azuli is back. Azuli, what say you to this?
I don't know what to say about this. Anytime you are indoctrinated into another person's religion, who's trying to enslave you, who's trying to destroy you, hey, you're in trouble. Only thing is nowadays they find a way to turn the African spirituality or the indigenous people's spirituality against each other. They don't use it for freedom like they claim. They say they used it during the revolution. And to say that, I don't know if Toussaint and these soldiers that were in the French army who revolted, I don't know if they viewed voodoo as a weapon. I think it was the roots, the regular Haitians, the slaves that really used it. Because I have never heard, but I did hear Dessalines. I have to make that research. Were these leaders involved in the voodoo, or were they just fighting and praying to Jesus at the same time? So, but I know, like they said, the Boakaima ceremony, which was numerous ceremony. It's not just one ceremony, but that's the one that everybody want to highlight. So, but the question is, how come? One question I want to, how come? Well, I'm not saying how come, but other, how come they only use the African spirituality when they would talk about the Haitian Revolution? What about these other revolution, these other rebellion that happened in these other in the Caribbean or even in Africa? Did they not use African spirituality? So did on the continent? So y'all were fighting colonialism. Like, did the what were you using to fight? Were you just using yourself and your own weapons and Christianity to fight them? So
Logic
I
and
don't know.
reason.
What?
Logic and reason. I'm joking. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. These are the fight. What did they use? Obviously, nowadays, if you don't tap in, I think you got to tap it into that quote unquote black magic because the way it's looking now, they have everything in control, under their fingers. So I don't know.
All right, Azuli. Buana, you heard everything everyone had to say. What say you?
Okay, so there are several things here. Several things here. So let's first start with Haiti. So they in a war, would the ranking would generals and leaders of any army would they tell the rank and file soldiers may not necessarily fall in line with what they personally believe, but they have to create the imagery or symbolisms to cause a man to believe in something so strong that he is willing to put himself at harm or at risk, you know what I mean, to fight for whose ever interest that they wish, the leaders and the rank and file. So it would have behooved them, the Haitian leaders, to give the violation to really believe in, understanding what they would have to fight up against. So African spirituality, of course, would have been a good thing to use, and I think it was very brilliant of them. However, the war for Haiti's independence wasn't won, even though they had a strong belief system, and which is very important. to cause men to go out there to possibly give their lives. And many of them did give their lives. But I believe that Haiti was won not only through belief, but through actions as well. And it is said, and Azuli could correct me on this, that one of the generals, I think his mother was a Dahomey warrior. These people would have understood tactish being a tactic, how to go out and things like these things. Strategy won the independence of Haiti. You know what I mean? Being tactical won the independence of Haiti, not necessarily the belief, but belief is important, and I would not take that away, at all. But when you say that that African revolutions wouldn't necessarily be won with African spirituality, then I have an issue with that, because I am reminded of people like Samora Machel, who was a complete Marxist in Angola, and they was able to displace their enemies in Angola, and they were Marxists. They were Marxists. What's the other guy? Mugabe. Mugabe was a Catholic, and many of the members of the ZANU-PF was Marxists as well, and they was able to displace the Boers in South Africa. So there's different complexities that goes into these kinds of winning wars and not having the ability to win wars. What people actually believe in and what they don't necessarily believe in. We are talking about a specific time in a specific situation, and you have to bring context to certain things. And like I say, on the African continent, you have people who was complete Marxists, but they was able to overthrow their enemies in Southern Africa as well, and create revolutions where they was able to. What do you say to those people over there? So there's complexity to the conversation and historical complexity to the conversation. So I wouldn't just pin it just on African spirituality winning the war. But I do know that even in parts of Africa, with the rank and file soldiers, what they tell some of the soldiers is they give them like a ceremony and things like that, and cause many of the soldiers to believe that they are impervious to bullets. You know what I mean? They hit, or they'll become invisible, shit like that. They tell rank and file soldiers many kinds of things to make them to actually go out there and perform a physical act. And the physical act is something that really wins wars. Though belief is important as well. Belief is very important. But the physical act have to be carried out, because belief don't only win wars, brother. The physical act as well is win wars. So I'll leave it there.
I think you got it confused. I think you got it confused. You don't understand voodoo, or you don't understand tapping into the energy. When you tap in, according to voodooism or voodooists, when you tap into the energy, you call the energy upon your body, and your body does the work. We are not saying it's not. What are you talking about? Belief. When the soldiers I don't know if anybody has ever been to a ceremony or whatnot. If you call on to certain spirit and they enter your body, of course, your body's gonna be doing the action. But I don't understand what you mean by belief. These African, I mean, I'm going by what they say about the revolution, and these people call these ancestors to get into them. It was helping them. It was like tapping into a different energy to do the fight. But they did the fighting. We're not talking about no spookyism there. So, and again, you're talking about Marxism. First of all, let's stop lying saying talk about these people overthrew. They were given their independence. All these African countries. Stop saying that. I'm not saying that there was not any fighting, any this and that. Yes. They fought, but at the end of the day, those colonial powers gave them their independence, as opposed to what they say happened in Haiti. So, for people to keep saying it's a belief or whatever, it's just like when you see Christian people speaking tongues. In their mind, when you ask them, they don't know what happened. It's a spirit that you call into the body to help the body complete the task. It's not that they believe and then the spirit do the task for them. That's what I wanted to say.
So my question becomes: if you have the spirit, Mami Water, if you have this the lowers, you know, you know, if they take on, your physical body, you know what I mean, and maybe I'm explaining it wrong, and if I shoot you with a gun, what are you saying is gonna happen? You think that they're gonna be impervious to being harmed by that gun or that I shoot you with? That's the first question I have to ask. The second thing is, anyone look up the Battle of Quito Carnival inside Angola, and you would see that no one was given independence in Angola. They fought for their independence, and many African Angolans died. Not only African Angolans, but many Black Cubans died in Angola. Nobody gave them their independence. They actually fought for their independence. This is a historical fact. But that's the question I have for you in terms of the spirit, being imparted, being one with the body, and then being impervious to any kind of harm. Is that what you're suggesting to me?
Azuli.
It's exactly what I'm suggesting. It's exactly what I'm suggesting. It's not exactly what I'm suggesting. It's exactly what they tell, what people who practice that hardcore tell you. So how do you know the people in Angola were not calling on ancestors? How do you know that?
What I'm saying is
no. But how do you know that? How do you come up with that and say, "Oh, they weren't"? How do you know that?
No, but what I'm telling you is the leadership in Angola, because I'm talking about the leadership in Angola. The leadership in Angola were Marxists. That's what I'm saying. This is a historical fact. We don't have to be back and forth about it. Maybe the rank and file people did in fact have their own version of African spirituality, but that war was led by Marxists. You know what I mean? But needless to say, if you are telling me that because like you say, if you're saying that I am right about that the Africans on the continent and the Africans in Haiti, they are given this idea, or they believe in this idea, that if they was to be one with the gods or whatever, they would not be able to be harmed by guns or bullets and things of that nature. That's where your brothers lose me. That's where your brothers lose me. Unless you could show me, because maybe I'm too much a materialist. You know what I mean? I have to see that a man could be shot with a 45, and because he have the gods being one with him or whatever, he would be impervious for me shooting him and him being harmed. I have to see that. I really have to see that.
Have you seen people walk on glass?
I seen video clips where people chew glass and shit like that and be unharmed. And I've heard many stories. I live in the Caribbean, brother. You know, I heard many different kinds of stories.
If that could happen, why can't a bullet be happen?
No, listen.
If that could happen, why can't that happen?
All I'm saying is, show me it. If it happens, sure. Show me it though. Show me it though. I need to see it for my own eyes. Maybe I'm a doubting Thomas, and I have to see it actually happen, not hearing from third and fourth party sources.
Hey, can I say something? I mean, I can believe that back in like those times, like bullets weren't that accurate or powerful. When people talk about dodging bullets, like those muskets weren't that powerful. It's like momentum, like, you know what I'm saying, in sports. You know what I'm saying? I was always taught playing football, when you play hard and run hard, you don't get hurt. It's when you go at half speed and the other guy is going at full speed is when you get hurt. When you're going in battle against, half-ass bullets, you better run hard. If you run hard enough against a half-ass bullet, it's not going to penetrate you. Bottom line. That's what I think Azuli's trying to say. Back in those times, got to keep it in perspective. That's all I wanted to say.
So even though that they a bullet, a musket at the time, even though I could buy the argument that the musket bullets wasn't as powerful. But we ain't only dealing with muskets, we dealing with swords as well. So if I try to run you through with one of the swords that I would have, because you had the spirit inside you, you would be impervious from your stab wounds as well. These are kinds of the conversations on where the conversation goes when we have these kinds of discussions. So now I'm asking, me personally, maybe y'all could say I'm atheistic, I'm not. But I have to, maybe I'm a doubting Thomas. And like I say, I live in the Caribbean. I hear many kinds of stories, but I have to be a witness to what's actually happening and not just hearing some third party evidence. They see these kinds of things happening or whatever, because we in the Caribbean, there are many kinds of stories, brother. Many kinds of stories. I just personally have to witness it myself.
I want to add that one of the things I was toying with at the top of the show, I was telling you guys I want to do something a little shorter, well, a much shorter form during the week. What should I do? And actually, one of the thoughts that's been in the back of my mind is doing a ceremony or doing several types of ceremonies, you know, Haitian voodoo, hoodoo, and others from the continent, right? So if you guys know people who I can have on to give us an episode of just breaking it down, an episode or two of just breaking down the science of these ceremonies, right? And then has the ability to then perform a ceremony with us in attendance. That's something I'd like to do. I think we got to be a little bit more proactive about the spirituality thing, to turn agnostics into believers. You know, I think we have to be a little bit more serious about that. Does anyone else want to comment here? All right, let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 8.
No, I won't comment, man. I won't comment, man. I won't comment, man. One of the things I studied slavery in the Caribbean is that you had a lot of mambos, you know, or spiritual women, right? One of the things that they used to do is they used to be cooks for their slave masters. And many of the people who were their observants, they used to see them as all very, very powerful people. I wish it was because of African spirituality and things that they was perceived having the ability to do. Okay? And even causing some of their masters to die. But when you look at some of the historical references and notes, they used to kill a lot of their masters by grinding up glass into almost like a powdery like form and putting it into their foods. So internally, that master will bleed out. You know what I mean? Now, someone who don't understand what's going on, watching that from a distance, they'll attribute all power to that mambo, not understanding that she ain't just prayed that the gods would kill the master. She actively would have done something to cause his death. You know what I mean? So, like I say, man, I understand the spirituality element, but I don't dismiss the thinking, the logical, and the reasoning element as well. I don't just displace that for the supernatural. But that's just me. Just me.
All right. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 8.